Hello everybody! Before I start the video, I wanted to let you know that a couple nights ago, I did a stream of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, my first actually, with Jeff Holiday, Wizard of Cause, and old Sinatra was there, and you can watch that stream on the second channel, link in the description, but we played, and there was a super chat donation, in particular, one from DVD Harbinger. He gave many hundreds of Australian dongers. So he contacted me on Discord, and we talked for a bit, and I asked him if there was anything I could do for him for his very generous donation. And what he said was he would like me to promote a channel. The channel is Hermes the Loser, and I've never heard of this channel before, but she does these animations, and they're normally pretty short, and they got music over them, and they're colorful and bright, and they will give you seizures. So check it out. There's a link in the description for her channel. Do check it out. Show her some love if you like what she does. Sub if you would like if you would like. It'd mean a lot to me if you guys did that. So thank you very much in advance. I would also like to, in particular, thank Cristobal Garcia for donating $500 in that super chat. Thank you very much. I'll probably use that to upgrade my CPU for more streaming in the future and for just general quality of life improvement for me. Thank you very much, Cristobal. I really appreciate that. So today I wanted to take a look at two games in particular. One of them, perhaps you have heard of. It's by this company called Blizzard. Maybe you've heard of them. They make some like strategy games, and they're this, I don't know, this startup company, and they have this FPS out now, I guess, and a lot of people play it. There's robots in it, and there's this British lesbian, and there are memes. There are lots of memes. Anyway, this game is called Overwatch. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe not, but it's a big thing going around now. There's a bird on the right. But there's also another game that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about Paladins. Ooh, how about that? Boom, thumbnail, getting my money's worth out of this baby. Paladins versus Overwatch. Overwatch versus Paladins. And me versus all the people who are going to be butthurt and upset because maybe I'm going to imply, God forbid, Paladins is actually a pretty darn good game. And maybe I'm going to imply that there are things about Paladins that I like more than Overwatch. Stifle for me, please, your collective gasps of incredulity. I want to give Paladins a fair shot, because whenever you talk about Paladins, people say, isn't that shitty free-to-play Overwatch clone? Oh, Paladins, so you didn't have enough money for Overwatch? I want to give Paladins a really fair shot because, well, I've got a reputation to keep, but because I actually really like Paladins a lot, and I like Overwatch a lot, and I like them both a lot, and so there are people who say that one's, I'm just unsub now, be safe. Overwatch and Paladins are both hero shooters. They're arena-based, objective-based modes where you pick a character, and all the characters are different, and then you use the characters to make the other characters become still and quiet, and then you do the objective and you win the game, and then you buy skins. Both games play very similarly, they look very similar, and I'm going to have footage from both of those games playing in the background as I spiel on about Paladins and Overwatch. And as the footage swaps from one to the other, it's going to be very obvious and very apparent how similar they are in their designs and in their objectives and in their characters. I mean, sometimes it's really, really like, this is why there was a controversy when Paladins and Overwatch were, coming out and about similarities in characters and stealing ideas and things like that. But we'll get into those in a moment. But as the footage swaps between Paladins and Overwatch, just take note of how similar they seem and how similar they look. It's really easy to not just go from watching one and the other to back and forth, but to playing both back and forth. And if Orisa was, I would fuck Orisa, all right. But I mean, I would fuck that robot. I would do it. I swear I would. It's very easy to go back and forth from playing Overwatch and Paladins. I noticed this a great deal when I was getting footage for both of them. I'd play some Paladins, I'd play some Overwatch, and then I'd go kind of back and forth and bounce between the two. It was really easy to do so. In fact, it was probably easier to bounce between these two than it was to go between other shooters. I mean, like Battlefield 1 and Dirty Bomb, there was a bigger difference there. Between games like, let me see, Vermintide and Left 4 Dead. Between Dishonored 2 and Prey. A lot of these pairings will have great similarities, but these two, Paladins and Overwatch, they play so closely to one another. It's almost like, you get the impression almost that Overwatch really, it's like they had a smaller team split off, and they got about a tenth of the budget, and they said, okay, now based on memory, I want you to recreate Overwatch without using any of the copyrighted characters. Now, obviously, that's not what happened. It just, you kind of get that impression from these two games and their similarities. And I use Overwatch as the base because for people listening and watching, more people have played Overwatch and more people are familiar with Overwatch. And it's Overwatch. Everyone knows. There are dead people who died hundreds of years ago who are getting sick of the high noon memes from McCree. This video will focus mostly on Paladins, in fact, because everyone knows everything about Overwatch, and they know way more than I do, and so I'm just going to pretend I'm the Paladins expert here, so yeah. Even though I'm not actually one, I just play one on TV. Now, if you go to the store page on Steam for Paladins, you'll be greeted with an opening cinematic video trying to make Paladins look way cooler than it actually is.
This is my domain. Time to hunt. Behold the dragon's fury! Here comes the pace!
Woohoo!
Bring it on!
Come watch the great Eevee take down all the people she hates!
That is cringy as fuck. That's not also— no, that's— stop, don't. I know the video is way upvoted, but shit, that makes the game look way worse than it really is. However, you will also notice that this game is sitting at 86% positive after 118,000 reviews. And that is legitimately impressive to do. Not only that, but it is also 86% positive for recent reviews as well. So the game is staying consistent in how it's making people happy to play it. Which is more than some games can do, he said, pointing to examples. And an 86% positive consistently after that many reviews is damn impressive, doubly so, considering this is a free-to-play early access game. Even though some early access games you have to pay for. You are constantly reminded this is an early access free-to-play game because this is the screen that you look at. It won't say your power ranks though, that's me. You can't be me. I'm taken. By myself. But you're instantly thrown into a marketplace. Sizzling summer skins for your favorite champions. Look, he has a towel and shades, and his gun looks like freedom. Realm Pack, Frostmare mount, boosters, and chest. That's actually a really, really good deal, actually. Enchant your chest. Price reduced. Freedom weapons! You get the idea. So, it's free to play, it's early access. Is it pay to win? It's on everyone's mind whenever you bring up these two things in tandem these days. Well, no, it isn't free to play. It's barely free to skip. You can spend absolutely $0 in Paladins and you won't get any sort of disadvantage from doing so. Spending money only maybe saves your time by account boosters that give you like 10% more this or 20% more this per match, and they give you some extra goodies to get other things with. It basically is just you're paying for cosmetics and account upgrades that just you get things a little bit faster. You can't buy special weapons, you can't buy special armor or special upgrades with real-world money. All of the upgrades that have any actual impact on gameplay, they can be bought with the in-game systems that are already in place. Like Overwatch, Paladins uses a loot chest system. It's interchangeable with loot boxes. You get these, you open them up, and on the inside, they have cards or cosmetics. And we'll get to the cards in just a second. They're basically player upgrades. You get them at random. Any duplicates you get are turned into purple goo. In the top right, you can see the coins that I've collected and have not spent, and you can buy these chests. I almost said chests. What was I trying to combine in my head to get chests? Chests and loot, probably. Anyway, you can spend gold, which is in-game currency, on these chests. A chest costs 2,500 coins, and heroes cost like 5,000 or so each, so buying heroes with in-game currency is actually shockingly quick and easy. It's almost like a trap, in fact. Account boosters that you can buy will give you 4 items instead of 3. That's the boost there on the right you can see there. So there. In Overwatch, you can spend real-world money on loot boxes, which is fine because they don't impact gameplay. However, there's no way to get them at the rates you get them in Paladins. In Overwatch, when you level up, you get a loot box, or when you complete a certain amount of a special game type, you get a loot box. In this game, every time you like level up your account, you get a loot chest, a choost, and every time you get 2,500 coins you want to spend on it, you can get a choost as well. Now, granted, it's much more satisfying to get something rare or exotic from a Overwatch loot box than it is from a Paladins choost, but you'll get them more frequently without having to pay for them, and the skins in Paladins aren't quite as interesting and highly sought after as they are in Overwatch either. Skins are a big deal in games like this. Just like Team Fortress 2 has hats, so too do Paladins and Overwatch have their skins. And look, Blizzard is made of a gajillion million dollars, and they have people who are very talented at what they do, and Overwatch is without a doubt a much better looking game than this is, though I wouldn't say that this game is bad looking at all. We just have to be frank here. It's Blizzard we're talking about, and this is Hi-Res Studios. Not to point a finger at anyone working at Hi-Res Studios. You're lovely people, I'm sure. But you're just completely outmatched in the terms of the graphics and budget department. I was reminded of this as I swapped back and forth between games getting gameplay. Overwatch looks a lot better. Everything about Overwatch looks better. This is definitely, even in terms of the animations, Overwatch just blows this game out of the water, okay? Make no mistake about it. This game is functional in how it looks. The animations are okay. It works, and it doesn't get in your way, and it doesn't make the experience worse. Overwatch is just way better at it. Paladins is much smaller budget, certainly, than Overwatch has. It's pretty much obvious in everything about this game. So apart from buying the regular choosts, you can buy other choosts that have skins and weapon skins and special this and special that. You can't buy anything other than the basic choost with in-game currency. You have to buy crystals, which is their premium currency. You can get it from playing the game consistently or through other methods, but for the most part, you buy crystals and you could use them to randomly get a skin from a certain selection from certain types of chests. So that's about as frustrating as you could imagine, but it's all cosmetic. Also, I put a different clip in between this clip when I split it to put in an image. Fuck. In any event, you can probably by now really see the similarities between how this looks and plays, though it doesn't have the refinement and the polish that Blizzard can give to Overwatch. But one big difference that I really like about Paladins is this, the item shop. I know shops and free-to-play games are everywhere, but this one is an in-game shop. And not just like you're in Paladins, I mean actually in a game, like playing the game in a game item shop. So you start off around with a certain amount of credits, and as you perform actions, for instance, damage dealers get more points from dealing damage, frontline, they get more points for being near the objective, healers get more points from healing, yada yada. But you use these points to buy upgrades for your character, and these upgrades go away every round, every game. They reset. Now, these are normally used to make your character a little bit better at the things that perhaps it's weak at. Or, really, you can use it for whatever you'd like, and different characters can get different benefits from the different items. The items do things like make your cooldowns quicker. They will help you do more damage to shielding. They will help you to slow healing on enemy characters. They will help you move a little bit faster, maybe charge up your ultimate a little bit faster. Things like that. And the more that you buy the item, the more expensive it gets and the more powerful it gets. But this is used to make your character better and more better suited, especially to fighting the enemy characters. So if you have stealth characters like Sky there that I was shooting with my... he's an orc with a laser beam. That's just what he is. And it is nothing more silly than anything Overwatch has, so you shut your damn mouth. But she turns invisible, and there is an ability that lets you in the item shop see cloaked enemies from further distances, so that would be useful there. Maybe, as a healer, you want to have your healing abilities be as quick to recharge as they possibly can so you can consistently heal your team. So, you might use something that lowers the cooldown of your... increases the cooldown. It makes your abilities usable faster. Maybe you are an enemy, you're a damage dealer. You do lots of damage, but you don't have any healing abilities. So you can use Life Rip, for instance, to give yourself a certain percentage of the damage you deal back as health, or you get a lot of health whenever you make an elimination. If you're a tank, maybe you put your points on just damage resistance or immunization towards crowd control abilities. Maybe you give yourself an ability or an item that makes you get healed for more of your health. Maybe your character has a long reload and you want to be able to consistently keep fire on the enemy for longer or for more consistent amounts of time, so you increase your reload speed. It's that kind of deal. This isn't something that Overwatch has, and I think this actually works to the benefit of Paladins because Paladins has a very understandable flaw with it I'll get to in just a second. In Overwatch, all the characters are the same on paper. Every Genji is identical except for the aesthetics. That's a great name, by the way. Every McCree is the same on paper. Every Ana is the same on paper. The differences come in the player skill and how good the player is at adapting to different situations and knowing their abilities and just the sheer quality of their aim. In Paladins, it's a little bit different. These items allow you to, per game, make your character a little bit different than maybe one on the enemy side, or you can increase your abilities or buy different items to make your character better suited to the most immediate game you're playing. So if you have enemies that have a lot of shields, you buy, a shield breaker ability. And maybe the next game, there's nobody on the enemy team who has shields, so you don't buy it. Kind of like how you don't buy all that Earth is a sphere nonsense. Lies, lies, lies. Everybody knows we're on the back of the Cosmic Space Turtle. Also, there's a turtle in this game. He has a cannon. He shoots a cannon. It is what it is. Now, why is the item shop so important in this game? Other than having it be of immense strategic importance and something that you want to pay a lot of attention to if you start picking up Overwatch and playing it, which I highly suggest you do, even if you have Overwatch. If you're a fancy rich boy with all that money to spend on video games. Yeah, it's pronounced Porsche, not Porsche. But I mentioned why the item shop was really, really important in this game, and the reason is because, and this is my biggest problem with Paladins, is that you don't get to change your character once the game begins. Once you start a game, that's who you are, and you're going to have to deal with your decisions. You're going to have to live with your life choices. This isn't like Overwatch, where you can swap your character every time you die, or go back to the spawn point and swap your character if you're a normie. If you decide to get a character and maybe you don't think you made the right choice selecting that character for that map against certain enemies that you can't see until after it's too late and things are locked down, too bad, so sad. You're going to have to deal with it. And the item shop is kind of how you deal with it. There are a lot of times in this game where I say, you know what, I shouldn't have been person X. I wish I was person Y, but I can't swap, so I better buy items that help me out or assist me in doing the most damage I can to the enemy team. And you do not realize how fantastic it is to be able to swap your character in the middle of the game until that ability has been stripped away from you. SOCKS, it is what it is, que sera, sera. Threw that in for my Spanish-speaking viewers. But the same restriction applies to the enemies. You always know what enemies you will be fighting, and you can plan for them, and you could buy items accordingly to increase your character's strengths where is necessary. Or to cover your weaknesses if you have them. Eat that arrow, Genji faggot. Now, when I did my Overwatch review video thoughts thing, one of the problems that I had with Overwatch, personally, on a personal level, just me, just my feels, is that Overwatch it's not casual friendly. Let's be frank, Overwatch is not a casual friendly game. It requires you to kind of learn each individual character and do what's best for them and just be them. It's not a game also that translates your skill from other games into it very well. Paladins is better in that regard. Paladins is a game where your skill from other shooters translates a lot more effectively. So you can pick up Paladins and do pretty well even if it's your first couple times. Also because the game makes you fight bots when you're a very, very early level, though you'll quickly surpass that, to help you kind of practice before you fight people so you don't just jump in and get stomped by every Maldamba who decides that your face is a bullseye. When I first played this game, I got like a 29 streak, and I was like, holy shit, I am amazing. I'm going to play this game so much because these scrubs don't know who just walked in. Rags did. Fuck me in the asshole sideways. No, I was fighting robots, and I felt very silly when I was told that I was fighting robots. I'm still better than bots, though. You suck on that and take it to the bank, robots. A lot of the times, the direct, normal attacks that heroes and paladins have is very, very straightforward. They have a gun. They shoot an arrow. They shoot a thingy that goes forward and blows up. Or it's a missile. Or it's a shotgun. Something very, very traditional. Something very familiar. Something that you've seen in other games that you can use without much explanation or without the huge learning curve that comes from a game like Overwatch, where every character is different and they have their little niches and abilities. You see that in paladins, though it's not to quite as amazing a degree. Characters are a little bit more simple and traditional. Plus, your skill with characters translates between one another's of similar types better than it does with Overwatch 2. Overwatch is not casual friendly. Paladins is more so. And then you fight people who know what they're actually doing and you're reminded that you suck. Kind of like Overwatch. Characters in Paladins, just like characters in Overwatch, have a lot of good synergy, arguably more so, the case can be made, but players who cooperate, healers who keep up on tanks, the classic things like that, there's a lot going on in both titles. Teams that legitimately play their roles, who cooperate and communicate, flankers who flank, frontline guys who block bullets with their face holes as long as they can, that sort of thing, they'll do better. Does it happen on its own, randomly, when you're fighting a bunch of normies online? Sometimes. No worse than Overwatch is, I suppose. I will say that the Paladins community isn't quite as toxic as the Overwatch one is, mainly because you can't communicate with the enemy team, as far as I know. Plus, the word filter in the Paladins game chat is really sensitive. I mean, like, really sensitive. You can't, like, you can call people a doo-doo head, and that's about it. As I was getting the footage this day, right? This day, as I was getting footage for Overwatch, I was playing as Orisa. I wasn't getting any healing as the tank. And I said, hey, could I get some healing on the point? And I was literally, I called names and I got bitched out by people because I just requested healing. It's like, what do you want me to do? Just take damage and What's interesting, though, is that in Overwatch, there are health pickups scattered around the map, but you don't have that in Paladins. Paladin maps don't have any pickups or any boosters or upgrades you get for walking over. If you want to get healed in Paladins, they have an interesting system. Underneath your character name in the bottom left, in Overwatch, it's where the little fire bar is, but as you don't attack or use your offensive abilities, that bar will recharge. Once it recharges, you'll start to regenerate health. So every character can heal themselves fairly well if you step back from the fight, avoid damage, and don't attack the enemy. So that's interesting. It makes healers and paladins less completely necessary, because I notice in Overwatch, you just need a healer. You almost always need a healer in Overwatch, but you can get away with it far better in Paladins, though it's still recommended. Characters overall are more self-sufficient, you might say. See, as Ruckus here, a tank and a robot who totally isn't diva at all, I will have you know. I'm getting the rejuvenation ability, so I will gain 10, 20, and 30% more healing from healing abilities so that I can stay alive longer. Which would have been a good choice if the healer decided that she would ever care. In terms of map selection, both of the games have a good variety of different maps, not only aesthetically, but in the way they're built. They have the classic game modes like, follow and escort the payload with a little twist. Payload in this game, you have to capture it first. If you capture the payload, your team gets a point and you need 4 to win. If you escort it all the way to the enemy's base, you get another point. If the team stops you, they get a point, but you can only get your 4th point by either delivering the payload or capturing it. So it lets the game get down to the wire a bit more and rely on capturing and offense, but it allows defending teams to keep up in the scoreboard if they can't capture it very well starting off. There's a not capture the flag, King of the Hill game mode called Onslaught, which is what you're seeing here. We're wrecking them because I'm amazing. But you stand on the zone, you get points, pretty typical stuff. By the way, I'm totally not Reinhardt at all, guys. This definitely is not Reinhardt. The person you're seeing here is definitely not Reinhardt. He also definitely doesn't have a charge ability that he could use, because he's not Reinhardt at all. Oh, never mind. I mean, they really aren't clones of one another. It's just, I poke fun. I just poke. I poke fun. It's what I do. The characters in Paladins, though, are not nearly as interesting in terms of being fleshed out as Overwatch is. Blizzard is made of money, so they can get comics done and they could get cartoons done, and they could make introduction videos, and they could make all this video graphic stuff about each individual character, and they all have personalities and histories and backstories, and you could view their LinkedIn profiles and visit their bar mitzvahs and things. You don't get that in Paladins. Characters are just sort of, I wonder what this character's like. Too bad we'll never know, because fucking fleshing out characters costs money. You get whatever you can piece together from their little link. I don't know who these people, like one of them's like a cosmic space justice warrior, and she's got daggers and jumps around, and I guess I'm like a goth knight of sort. I don't even know. I have a cannon and I'll use it. I mean, look, if everyone ever makes a comment and it turns out the axe-throwing tree person is actually a bisexual who's into lolly porn, then no one's gonna care. No one's gonna. He's like, who is this person? Grover. Who's Grover? Is he? That's the dog name. Why did you name the tree person after a dog? You don't feel any sort of attachment to characters. You don't feel any desire to learn more about the characters' backstories. They're basically just classes that you play, and they kind of sound a little bit different and look a little bit different, and one of them is a furry named Pip. I just report the news. I don't make it. As far as progression goes in Paladins, you have all the characters you've unlocked or purchased, because if you buy the Founders Pack for $20, you get access to some goodies that you can consume and a little booster, but it unlocks all of the champions in the game as well as all the ones that are released in the future, which for $20 is actually a really, really decent deal. But if you have that, you can see in the character selection screen and in the champion window all your mastery rank with them, and you can unlock things for the character based on your mastery, and you get you get a level of progression and prestige with characters as you go through and you get their levels up, and other players can see that. So if you're like me, a level 9 Maldamba, everyone sees you're level 9 with the fancy golden portrait because you like to heal people because you're a fucking bottom bitch. As far as balance goes, the last balancing patch that I'm aware of for Paladins, I think it literally buffed every character. So, yeah, fine, that's alright. If you're buffing everybody, just go for it. Why not? But there doesn't seem to be any one character that is extremely strong against everybody else in every situation. Maybe Maeve is a little bit, she's kind of fucking insane. But for the most part, there's no real balance issues that I've noticed in Paladins. Maybe people who are super pro at this game and take it more serially than Chex Mix can let me know that I'm totally wrong and there's a huge balance issue and the meta is all fucked up, but I honestly just couldn't be fucked enough to learn this game to that point. I just kind of jump in and shoot things and heal people. Healing is a very satisfying thing to do in Paladins, because whenever, as you've noticed, when you shoot people and when you heal them, numbers pop up over their head, and I have a numbers addiction, and I like to see all the green numbers over my friends' heads, so it's what I do. While it's on my mind, just like in Overwatch, of course, characters have ultimates, which with a varying degree of deadliness or utility. They're not as important and powerful as they are in Overwatch. In Overwatch, the game lives and dies by ultimates, basically. In my review of Overwatch, my thoughts video on it, I said I wish the game was less focused around ultimates. Hell, I might even prefer the game without them entirely. That's just me, though, and I understand the appeal of ultimate, and I know that there is a skill that comes with timing them out and using them in tandem with your teammates. But if you aren't a huge fan of somebody pressing Q to win, like in Overwatch, then you might like Paladins a little bit better in that regard. Because Paladins does have less of a focus on super powerful ults that charge up in game steam over time. So I'm sure there are people who, when they heard me say you can get an item that speeds up the recharge rate of your ultimate, and you just kind of shit the bed and turned off your computer. Don't worry if you have come back to watch the rest of this video and watch yet another ad for me. Thank you. Be not afraid and worry not. Ults aren't the huge game-changing thing, as much, at least, as they are in Overwatch. Are there things that Paladins legitimately does better than Overwatch does? A lot of it comes down to simple taste. If you can get used to the idea that Paladins just obviously doesn't have as much of a budget... Is that my refrigerator? Damn, that's loud. But if you can get used to the idea that the game doesn't have nearly the level of polish and graphical beauty that Overwatch has, then you'll be okay. It'll be fine. And I highly suggest that even if you're a rich boy who bought Overwatch, you should still try Paladins out. You really should. Get your friends together, play it, see if you enjoy it. It's a lot more cringy. I'll just be honest, it's a lot more cringy. I mean, Ultimate's like, shit, look at me go. And then, yeah, sure, press Q to just make the whole team appear again. That's whatever, it's fine, it's part of the game. But honestly, seriously, go and give Paladins a try. It's free, you have nothing to lose but your time, and you got to the 29th minute of this video. Your time is obviously not very important. Try out some characters, try out the game, work with your friends. Honestly, give it a shot, because a lot of the times when you bring up Paladins, people say, oh, it's just a free-to-play Overwatch. Oh, it's just a shitty game the kids play. There really is a lot of coordination that you see in the teams, and the meta for this game I could see is very deep with the abilities and the loadouts. And I haven't talked about loadouts yet, so I'm glad I reminded myself, because I don't script this shit. So, loadouts. All of the champions, all the characters can have loadouts, and you can have up to 6 of them. To create a loadout, you use the cards that you can either buy using that purple goo I mentioned earlier, or you can get them from the choosts. You can choose 5 cards for every loadout, and you could select between all the ones that you have, or you can buy them directly from here. And after you choose the 5 cards that you want, you can upgrade them up to a maximum of 12 points total, and you can mix and match however you'd like, based on how you'd like your character to be upgraded. This is one big advantage that I think that this game has over Overwatch, the ability to customize your character by using these loadouts. Loadouts allow you to take these abilities that you have and adjust everything from the cooldown to maybe your health maximum, to shield maximum, to the recharge of certain abilities, to triggering effects that occur every certain amount of seconds, all sorts of different things, and they're unique to each individual champion. You can use loadout cards on, let's say, healing characters to either buff their defensive or offensive capabilities, or maybe their healing if you want to focus on that. And again, all of these loadout cards and abilities are gained with in-game currency, and they don't require you to spend any actual money. Experimenting with these different loadouts and seeing what matters to you and what doesn't matter to you based on how you play or what you find useful is interesting, and I've been adjusting loadouts for characters that I've played quite a great deal of. But when you take loadouts that you select at the start of each game, and then you add to that the items that you buy in the store during the game, there's a lot more actual customization of the characters you play in Paladins compared to the ones in Overwatch. Whereas Overwatch has better customization in terms of just the skins that you buy, because they look better and they seem more high quality. This game has a more meaningful and objective impact on the game in terms of how it actually plays out. Like Overwatch, Paladins does not have any single-player equivalent. It is simply completely PvP, you fighting other players. Though, as I said before, in the early stages of playing the game, as you rank up your account, you will fight bots to learn the game. It doesn't let you just jump into games. You can still play with friends, and you can party up using a decent squatting up system, but you'll have to play with bots when you start off. It's a thing. I don't like it, but there you go. You'll quickly surpass that limitation. All things considered, though, I titled this video, Which is Better, Paladins or Overwatch? And I spent a lot of it explaining Paladins because not a lot of people have played it compared to Overwatch, I feel, even as a free-to-play game. Overwatch has a huge, broad reach, and it has a lot of appeal for a lot of people, and it's got a lot of marketing and oomph behind it. So, but we can go through some of the things that both of these games have and see who I think does them better. Though in a way, I think a lot of the preferences that I have going either to Overwatch or to Paladins is very, very subjective. The maps that both games have are fine. The maps are both varied, interesting, not too linear in their design. I think that the list of characters is expansive for both games in terms of how unique they are from one another, though obviously Overwatch has more fleshed out characters in terms of backstory and lore. When it comes to character customization, Paladins easily beats Overwatch, though you can think that's a good or bad thing. Again, that's up to your preference. I think it's a good thing. When it comes to skin quality and unlockables, while Paladins does have some to offer in that regard, and the skins are getting better and there are more and more as time goes by, I still think Overwatch definitely takes the cake with its creativity and with its artistic design. When it comes to community, Overwatch players are salty as fuck. However, overall, I have been chastised and made fun of and called names and useless and worthless by the Overwatch crowd far more than I have run into salty teammates in Paladins. Most of the time, you only hear the people you're squatted up with, and thankfully, everyone else remains mostly silent. Honestly, both games are just fun to play. They are good games to bounce back and forth between. Like, if you play Overwatch and you're like me and you're not all that great at Overwatch, I do consider myself better at Paladins than I am at Overwatch. Maybe it's due to the fact that I think that the general skill level in Paladins is lower, or that there are more traditional styled characters, not in appearance but in play, that Paladins has. But it's good to kind of bounce between the two. If you want that smaller scale hero shooter, then this game, Overwatch, Dirty Bomb, Rainbow Six Siege, all of these are interesting and viable options, and they'll all give you fun. There's a lot to learn, the skill gap can be pretty high, there are things to unlock, playing with friends is rewarding, and strategy and teamwork really do pay off. It does bother me a little bit how you can get a little shade thrown at you for enjoying and playing Paladins. People will see my name in the Discords I'm in, and they'll see Rags is playing Paladins. Don't play that trashy Overwatch clone, they'll say. Play Overwatch, it's so much better. And honestly, I'm not entirely convinced of that. I know I might get a lot of hate and a lot of flack, and a lot of people might say that I'm... Gosh, who knows what they'll say. But Paladins is honestly a good game. It is legitimately as good as Overwatch is in the actual playing of the game. It is legitimately a good game. And a lot of people don't expect to hear that. A lot of people just look at Paladins and see that it's cheesy and cringy and is obviously geared for a younger audience, and they assume that it doesn't have high levels of play, or that there's no meta in it, or that it can't compete with a game like Overwatch, and that's simply not true. Paladins has a lot to offer if you're into these kinds of games, and I highly recommend people at least take a look at it. It has a very fair, free-to-play model. The characters are interesting. I think there are more characters in Paladins actually than in Overwatch. There's a lot to learn, and it's rewarding to do well, especially with friends. According to SteamCharts.com, today there were 34,000 people playing Paladins, so games are normally pretty quick to get into, and you won't have a problem with the user base dying off for a long, long time. There's a lot to like about Paladins, and there's a lot to like about Overwatch. They are very similar, yet they play a bit differently, and if you like one, you'll probably like the other. You might prefer one over the other as well, just like I do. But if I had to pick one right now out of Paladins and Overwatch, which one was the better game, then I think it is definitely